This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. And welcome to this video talking about the failed idea for my 200 subscribers special. Honestly, I didn't want to make a video like this, but when I just started thinking about it, I realized that I just had a good idea for an ending for a story and kind of a good idea for the start of it, but the middle was just a complete blank and I had really nothing for it. And everything that was supposed to go into it, I feel like made it way cheaper. The story was going to be actually inspired by something that the What If writers wanted to do and have a crossover between Star Wars and Marvel. I wanted to try and make it in the form of the show where the Watcher was there explaining things, and we'd have the original Avengers team up with some of the characters from Return of the Jedi. But really, besides the ending and a few other things, I just had absolutely no ideas for the middle of this story. The basic concept would have been the Ancient One would have went to stop Loki with the fact the Avengers would be distracted since in this universe Phil Coulson would have survived his fatal stabbing from Loki. And by that I mean he wouldn't have died temporarily if you take Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into account and be brought back to life. Instead, he would be in a critical condition and the Avengers stressing over the fact that Coulson lived and to see what happened to him would overlook the fact that Loki would be using Stark Tower to power the Tesseract, and the Ancient One would go to stop him. When she attacked him, Loki would use one of his projections to trick her and stab her with his scepter, and the combination of two Infinity Stones would have caused an explosion which would engulf a third, and since they were the Time Stone, Mind Stone, and Space Stone, they would have wanted to pull out one of the most powerful minds in time and space, and that would have went back in time to the events of Return of the Jedi, which would have been from the Legends continuity, where Palpatine used his battle meditation to completely control the Battle of Endor, and would have pulled all Imperial forces from Endor, alongside some of the close Rebel ships, including the Millennium Falcon, to Earth about the Battle of New York. The second Death Star would be destroyed, and then the Avengers and the Rebellion would team up to stop Vader, who would get three of the Infinity Stones, kill Palpatine, take over the Empire, and go get the other Infinity Stones. And that's about what I had for the start and the middle of the plot. Well, I did write out basically all of the start. I got to the point where they would get ready to go and Vader would go on his quest to get the Infinity Stones. I just had nothing for the middle of the story, but I had a really epic ending where he would eventually get the six stones and return to the Star Wars galaxy. He would go to Naboo to revive Padme. The Avengers and Luke would try to stop him. They would ultimately be defeated, and once Vader revives Padme, she would be completely horrified by who he became and run off. This would kind of snap Anakin out of things, and a small thing with the story is that he would have used Infinity Stones to completely heal his body, which he used to kill Palpatine. And alongside this, I also have a side plot where Captain Pelion, who would be promoted to Admiral in this, would go and lead an uprising of the Imperials against Vader, putting him in a spot of leadership for the Imperials once Vader would be defeated. And once Vader realizes this, he would be redeemed and return to the light once he sees just how truly of a monster he became and how many bad things he's done. And instead of dying this time, he would become a kind of cosmic protector where we'd see a series of flashes to him defeating different enemies, similar to that one from the Hela episode, where we'd see him destroying the Yuuzhan Vong. And depending on how the story go, either defeat Thanos or maybe King or someone. But yeah, that was the basic concept of the story. But there was really just nothing for me to do for the middle of it. I honestly just realized I had a really good endpoint for a story and started working from there, but I realized ultimately it just wasn't going to work. I would have basically had the Marvel characters not doing too much. It would have been ultimately a story about Vader, and while I think it would have been really good with the ending, I just couldn't figure out anything to really happen in between. It was more or less just a setup from a start, and that would have been pretty cool, and then it would have cut to just the ending, and I realized that the story was ultimately just something that wasn't going to be worth telling because I felt like it just didn't sound good. I spent a while trying to figure out how the middle of the story would go, and I just felt like really whatever I did, I feel like I was trying to draw out a story where there really was nothing, and that I really wouldn't have been satisfied with what I wrote. So ultimately, I decided to give up, and if you want, I can include the parts of the story I did write. I was maybe gonna have like Thor be mind controlled, and he could have served as a partial antagonist where he couldn't use Mjolnir, and Captain America was gonna take it. I was also toying with an idea where the Avengers would kind of split up, and one would lead a resistance on Earth against the Imperials, and on the other hand, the other ones would be going after Vader to get the Infinity Stones before him. But yeah, honestly, I just feel like I had a really good ending, and I was just kind of forcing things to get there. I feel like the story just really wouldn't have been good, and it was going to be an ultimate waste of time if I went and just finished a script and forced things to go a certain way and then got to the ending. So ultimately, I am not going to be doing this. I think I will include a link to the Google Doc where you could read out the beginning of the script and see where it kind of went off the rails, where I was going to have Thor turn evil and be mind controlled by Vader. But yeah, I feel like if you look at it, you'll see I think I was kind of forcing things. While I was really excited at first, I just realized there was no real good story to tell here. But yeah, honestly, I do still want to do a special. It'll probably be closer to 250, and for that I'm thinking about doing a beginning to both Lord of the Dimensions and Episode 11, having the two of those out without any editing, just so you can see what the stories are about, and then have a vote after that to see which one I should continue. Although I'd prefer it to be Lord of the Dimensions because I have a really fun ideas for that. I am fine with both of them, but yeah, honestly, as I said, this is something I did want to do. And if you want to finish the story, totally go ahead because I think it does have potential, but as I said, besides really a beginning, which I was kind of had a good idea for, I was just kind of forcing things to go to an end point where I just think things that leading up to it really didn't have too much clear stuff. I feel like it would have been me forcing a story, and I really didn't want to do that. I mean, even looking at the story I wrote, I had over 4 pages, and it was literally just all exposition and setup for the story. I feel like this would have just turned into like a giant disaster, and even if I did get it out and make it, I would have had to cut down that beginning by a lot because you can check it out in the description, which I'll make public because I honestly do want you to see what was going to happen. But it was just going to be a disaster, and honestly, I'm just glad I came with this decision before I wasted even more time and just made something that I was not going to be proud of. But honestly, let me know what you think. Do you think that the story was solid? Because although I think it did have a solid ending, it just wasn't going to wind up well with how I was leading to it. And if you want to, you can check it out in the description. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Do you think that I was going a little too far and a little overboard with it? Or do you think I actually had a good story? Because honestly, I really want to know, so please let me know in the comments. And I'll see you next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.